There is ample metaphysics in not thinking at all. What do I think about the world? Who knows what I think about the world? If I were ill, I would think about it. What idea do I have about things? What opinion do I have about cause and effect? What have I meditated on God and the soul and upon the creation of the world? I don't know. For me, to think about that is to shut my eyes and not think. It is to draw the curtains of my window, but it has no curtains. The mystery of things. How should I know what mystery is? The only mystery is that some people think about mystery. A man who stands in the sun and shuts his eyes begins not to know what the sun is, and to think many things full of heat. But he opens his eyes and sees the sun, and now he cannot think of anything, because the light of the sun is worth more than the thoughts of all the philosophers and all the poets. Sunlight doesn't know what it is doing, and so is never wrong, and is common and good. Metaphysics. What metaphysics do those trees have? That of being green and bushy and having branches, and that of giving fruit in their own time, which is not what makes us think, to us who don't know how to pay attention to them. But what better metaphysics than theirs, which is not knowing why they live, and not knowing they don't know. The inner essence of things. The inner meaning of the universe. All this is false. All this does not mean a thing. It is incredible that people can think about such things. It is like thinking about reasons and goals when dawn's rays are breaking over by the trees and a vague glimmer of gold is dissolving the darkness. To think about the inner meaning of things is overdoing it, like thinking about health or carrying a glass to a spring. The only inner meaning of things is that they have no inner meaning at all. I don't believe in God because I've never seen him. If he wanted me to believe in him, he would surely come and talk with me, would come in through my doorway saying, "Here I am." This may sound ridiculous to those who, because they aren't used to looking at things, can't understand a man who speaks of them in the way that looking at things teaches. But if God is the flowers and the trees and the hills and the sun and the moonlight, then I believe in him. Then I believe in him at every hour, and my life is all a prayer and a mass and a communion with the eyes and through the ears. But if God is the trees and the flowers and the hills and the moonlight and sun, why do I call him God? I call him flowers and trees and hills and sun and moonlight, because if, for me to see him, he makes himself sun and moonlight and flowers and trees and hills, if he appears to me as being trees and hills and moonlight and sun and flowers, it's because he wants me to know him as trees and hills and flowers and moonlight and sun. And therefore I obey him. What more do I know of God than God of himself? I obey him by living spontaneously, like one who opens his eyes and sees. And I call him moonlight and sun and flowers and trees and hills. And I love him without thinking of him, and think of him by seeing and hearing. And I walk with him at each hour of my time.
And you made a joke about how, as a philosopher, you're also a manic depressive.
Well, you see, as a philosopher, I'm committed to wanting to see things as they really are. And this is a fact, a psychological fact, that people who are depressed actually, surprisingly, they make more accurate judgments of really simple things like how thick or large something might be. But more generally, I think a lot of people think that you do see things more clearly when you are depressed. So when I'm depressed, I think, well, I'm depressed, so I see things more clearly. And of course, since I'm a philosopher, that cheers me up, which depresses me, which cheers me up, etc. So that's why, if you have certain inclinations, and if you believe that psychological finding about depression and accurate judgment, you are in effect doomed to be a philosophical manic depressive.